The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual guests. If you're a sensitive snowflake that may get easily offended, then turn this off immediately. If you want to hear the real truth about the gun culture, then stick around. This is the Armed Citizen Podcast. What is going on, my Ghost Squad? Welcome to the Armed Citizen Podcast Live. This is episode number 179. Today's date is Tuesday, February 9th, 2021. If you're out there live, welcome to the dark side. If you're out there, go ahead and leave us a comment out there. We don't know that you're out there unless you do say something. If you're new to the channel, new to this show, let us know that you're out there and tell us where you're from. We'll give you a shout out and welcome to the dark side, as I said. And if you're watching in replay or listening in podcast, the conversation does not have to stop right here. Go ahead and utilize that comment section below and ask any questions, make any comments, tell me I'm a dumbass, whatever. It's all good. I like getting comments like that. It kind of makes my day sometimes. If you're out there in the podcast world, no matter where you are, go ahead and try to subscribe or like our feed, and that'll get you notified out there. If you do listen to podcasts, if you're watching live or on YouTube or in Facebook right now, we can be heard on basically anywhere there's podcasts out. I mean, anywhere podcasts are hosts, we're out there. But especially like iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google, Prime, all the big ones, but there's so many other ones out there. Go ahead and follow us out there. And we are a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. Please go check out selfdefenseradio.net, where you can find all of your pro-gun, pro-freedom podcasts all in one place. Very proud to be part of that. You can see the banners up there. If you guys want to call or text in, yes, you can call in if you'd like. Call or text in your questions. Go ahead and use the Ghost Tactical Hotline presented by our great friends Rod and Shelly Gates at theguncleaners.com. That number is 530-364-4678. And if you're a veteran, anyone really, but especially if you're a veteran and you're going through a hard time and you might need someone to talk to or don't really understand why you're feeling the way you are, first of all, feel free to reach out to me anytime, 24/7. You can call, text, email, whatever. Find a way, direct message, whatever. Find a way to get a hold of me if you'd like. And I cannot give you any medical advice, but I can sure as hell be a pretty decent ear to listen to and maybe talk you through some stuff and all of that. If you're looking for someone that can get you medical advice or get you pointed in the right direction in your area, please understand two things. One, you are not alone. For damn sure you're not alone. Two, the world is a much better place with you in it. Okay, understand those two major points. But if you need some help, contact the Veteran Crisis Hotline at 1-800-273-8255. 1-800-273-8255, and that number is screening down there below. And as always, we're going to spotlight the United States Marine Corps. If you're interested in knowing what it takes to earn the title of United States Marine, visit the website, www.marines.com. So let me go ahead and bring this out here. And Clover out there says, not a doctor, but I play one on YouTube. Yeah, I sometimes will stay at a Holiday Inn Express, so I don't know if that helps or not. I don't know. But yeah, like I said, if you ever need anyone to talk to, I'm always around to talk to. But please utilize the Veteran Crisis Hotline if you need some professional help that I or anyone else can't give you. It's a great service. So let's bring in our he's basically our quasi co-host at this point, but let's bring him in from the great state of Texas, the tactical virus. Leprechaun himself. What's up, Clove?
I prefer producer. It sounds more official.
Producer engineer. There you go.
Yeah.
The brains behind the madness.
Well, it sounds like I actually do something. You know what I mean?
Well, you actually have to do something for me to say that you do something. No, but you do, especially when we have special guests on, man. I tell you what, when we have a special guest, Clover, I'm gonna brag on him real quick because he knows that it's not about him that night, and he'll stay quiet unless he wants to ask a question. But he is burning up the keyboard and copy and pasting questions from the chat, put them in our private chat, so I have a kind of a ledger of questions to ask. So, especially when we have someone on, man, I do appreciate that because at that point you basically are running the show behind the scenes for sure.
Well, thank you. And it's good to have, it's what a lot of people that do these live streams or maybe want to do these live streams or want to do podcasts. And I mean, reach out to other people that, have similar interests or, whatever for help in capacity like that. Right. Because having help in a live chat, regardless of whether you have a guest or not, sometimes important. It's hard to do your thing and talk about your topics and do all that, plus monitor the chat, plus do the text, plus do the call in, plus remember all the things you got to do. It gets crazy sometimes. So, and having help, especially from people that do their own podcast and live streams, they kind of know that struggle already.
Yeah. And it's not only that, but it's someone, that you trust, because I'm not going to lie. There have been times where I get the old Ron Burgundy going where I read what's in front of me, that you'll put something in the private chat and I'll just read it. So you have to trust that someone's not going to really mess with you a whole lot.
Right.
It does help. And like you said, someone that runs their own podcast. And I do like jumping on, I like jumping on yours, but I like jumping on other people's podcasts because it's fun most of the time. Because I don't have to worry about the 17 different things. I can just be there talking.
It's not your show, right? It's like no responsibilities, really.
Third re-upload for Talking Elite Info says, "Hey Patriots." That's an interesting mouthful of a name, but cool. Welcome. Keep on keeping on. Our second, we're with you. JMA's out there. He says, Semper Fi Marine, Semper Fi Devil Dog. Talked to a JMA on the phone over the weekend. Just an awesome dude. He's, we've gained so many people to the show and to the channel in the last 12 months. But to this very day, and I believe that you and Jeff from Gear Report were both on that show with me when JMA first showed up to the chat. That was one of the most powerful shows that I've ever been a part, whether I was hosting it or just on the panel or whatever. JMA is one of those that I am so glad that I've gotten to know him, and I'm so glad I can call him a friend. He's a wonderful human being, and he's doing really well. And but yeah, he's just one of those that you look back and say, over the last 12 months, we've gained a lot of people, but that's one in particular that I'm glad showed up. So it's Snowy. Man, Snowy's been around lately. Snowy North Gunslinger's back in the hizzy. Sarge is out there. Ricardo's back from Brazil. I think it was Brazil, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Got a lot of Grims out there, the Tactical Reaper. We got a bunch of Bucks out there, Mr. F&H, RTAC, G23. I'm going to miss some Kingpins out there, 223 DMR. I'm just going to run through the list real quick. I don't want to leave anybody out, so it shouldn't take that long. I think I said Buck. Sarge is out there. I think I said Sarge. Rob D's out there, New York Outcast. John C's out there. It's happy Tactical Tuesday. It's so interesting. It's, for those of you that have been around from the beginning back in 2017, for the first year, I want to say it was the first year at least, this was called Tactical Tuesday. And we had a produced standalone podcast that we did called the Armed Citizen Podcast. And I was talking with Cheryl Todd back in the day, and she pointed out, and she said, you might want to think about consolidating. So people aren't looking for different things, just, call them the live or but call it all one thing. And I think I even called you and talked to you about it, got your opinion. And I ended up going with calling everything the Armed Citizen Podcast. This is obviously the live version, and we don't do a whole lot of produced stuff because we have so much good talks during the week on this, we can utilize it. But for those that are interested, Weston's out there. We finish. Yeah. I like Keith. He's a squid, but I like him. Let's see here. Barnaby's out there. Moo's out there. So TPC's out there. And I'm missing you. I apologize. Like I said, if you're new out there and you're watching, go ahead and let us know that you're out there and tell us where you're from. We'll get you out there. But anyways, if you guys have been watching the channel at all, over the last, I would say 6 to 8 months, really since about last April or May, last spring, we've been getting a lot of requests to do videos or podcasts and all that about stories about the military. And I never really, I was like, kind of, okay, I mean, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. And then all of a sudden, like in the last 2 months, we've gotten comments. I've been getting a shit ton of emails talking about this. And I was like, let's do something different. So I decided to create a new podcast, and it's not going to be a live version. This is all going to be produced podcasts, because a lot of people I'm going to get maybe not be able to be at a certain time. So we'll record when we can. But it's called the Jarhead Podcast. And if you're a patron of mine or a channel member, first of all, thank you to my patrons and channel members. If you're a patron or channel member, you've already had access for a couple days. The very first episode of the Jarhead Podcast will be released publicly on Thursday. So I'll be looking forward to that. The first guest is me. And Lance Field says, "What's up? New from Utah. Man, I used to spend a lot of time in Utah. I used to go out to Park City every year for, man, I would say 10, 12, 13 years, and went skiing. We have friends of ours in Salt Lake, and we would go to Park City every year for spring break, and for at least 12, 13 years and ski up there. Every year. So love Utah. Beautiful, beautiful place, especially in the summertime. And Fuzarkian says, not here nor from the Zarks. So must welcome. And our good friend Rod or Shelly are out there. I think that's usually Rod. What's up, Rod? Go check out the guncleaners.com. These guys right here. Awesome stuff. Gizzard Gary's out there. Jeff Coatney's out there. It's his first time catching the show live, Northwest Arkansas. Right on, brother. Welcome to the dark side. We appreciate you. So anyways, the Jarhead Podcast is first episode's coming out Thursday. It's going to be my story. And what we've kind of done is I've kind of gone through a list of about 7 or 8 questions that we're going to ask all the guests, starting from how did you get in the military to what you're doing now. And then we're going to have like the Mad Minute, where we're going to go in rapid response, word association, some funny questions. So what we did was with us is we went through those questions and kind of answered them ourselves, and kind of give you an idea of my time in the Corps and all of that stuff. So, and it's not just gonna be Marines. I know it's called the Jarhead Podcast, but it's called that because I'm a jarhead. I always say that the vast majority of them are going to be, but we're going to bring in some SEALs and some Braves and Rangers and guys that I served with, and guys that are friends of mine now. And so it'll be fun. It'll be fun. I've reached out, and right now at this point, I'm working on hopefully the logistics of it. But if you guys are aware, I don't think he's in anymore, but at the time he was the second youngest ever to win the Congressional Medal of Honor. He's a Marine. He was a Lance Corporal at the time, from Afghanistan, won it. And Kyle Carpenter. You guys have heard of Kyle Carpenter. Pretty excited about, we're working on logistics now to kind of maybe see when is it an available time to get him. But that would be amazing to have a living Medal of Honor winner, but going through his story and all that would be amazing. So I'm working on that. Plus we'll get like Tonto. We're going to get like Mike Glover. We'll get probably get Will Chesney back on the canine handler from DevGru that was on the Bin Laden raid. I got a couple of buddies of mine that I serve with that are going to come in and join and tell their stories. One of them's got a really cool story who did MSG duty, then worked with Blackwater, then went CIA, then FBI, then UN, then World Bank, and now is one of 3 guys that started up a contracting company in DC years and years ago, and might be my most, how do I put this? I wouldn't call it a mistake, but it was, and I don't really regret it, but it could have been interesting where I was asked to get in the front end of that possibly years ago. And I said, no, turned into something pretty big. So anyways, all that. So tonight, Clover,
what?
We're going to talk about the year of, could this be the year of the budget guns?
Cheap junk.
Well, and here's the thing is that's interesting because that's what I think of. I think that's what a lot of people, but the caveat for this is understanding that everyone has their own definition of budget.
Right.
What could be budget for me is the people who want to think about. There are people that they consider budget $1,000 gun.
Oh yeah.
And I think that word budget, and you hear the word entry level. Sometimes they're both used the same way. Entry level doesn't need to be that they're budget friendly or they're cheap. It means just they're entry level. But what we're going to talk about tonight are the guns, let's say handguns under that $450 price range, an AR like under probably $700 or $800 price range, if we can find them at this point. But with all of the craziness going on out there with being able to find guns, much less for a decent price, before we kind of dive into this, do you think, Clover, that the quote unquote budget firearms are going to be looked at differently than maybe they have been in the past? Some people might stay away from them because they're cheap. But now,
so.
Do you think people are going to stay away from them still?
I don't think so. What's interesting, and we'll get into, I know talking specifics a little later, but I'm seeing more of what I would consider budget available than your more well-known, maybe higher priced, brands, companies, models, things like that. I'm seeing more of the budget. I'm getting a lot of response on videos. Like, just pick one of these up, just pick one of these up, just pick one of these up, or whatever. And I'm like, good Lord, where are you finding guns for sale? You know what I mean? And it seems like I'm seeing that more on the cheaper things than on the more expensive, the videos with the more expensive stuff, which is interesting. So it's like, because they're quote unquote budget, because they cost less to manufacture or whatever, have maybe those companies increased production to help satisfy demand a little more. I don't know.
Sure. A great, and I look on it pretty much every day for some.
So I don't know if I'm live, if anybody can hear me, but it looks like we froze. So I know Midnight Range TM out there saying freeze. If y'all can hear me, because it does look like I'm still here, then let me know. And I'll carry on. Maybe Ghost had cool. Maybe Ghost had, it's just me. So, hey, we have taken over. Officially, the virus has taken over the Armed Citizen podcast for tonight. So awesome. Hopefully Ghost gets back in here if he can hear, or whatever. Maybe he'll send me a text or something. So he was gonna go to some kind of website or look at something or whatever. So just curious about where do you guys go out there when you're looking for stuff, right? Because I know for me, he's back. There he is.
My phone. So everyone that knows my phone, I don't have internet access at my house. So it runs off my phone. My phone, all out of the blue, decided to restart. Like I didn't touch it, nothing, but it started to restart. So my internet just went kaput there for a few minutes. Sorry, that was weird. Finish up what you were saying, because I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, I mean, I was trying to follow up on what you potentially were talking about, because you were like, I go here to check something, and then you dropped out. So I just kind of threw it out there, like, where are some of the places people are going to see what's available and what's around? Because I know a couple of days ago, I had somebody asking me, did I know where they could find a 22 Magnum Henry or one of the Ruger Rimfires in 22 Magnum? And I was like, and I think guns.com, I think, was the only place that had either one of those in stock out of the some 24 probably places that I looked. Right.
Yeah. Guns.com apparently has got a deal with several manufacturers, because they're the only ones that I can find some guns for. Where I go, and I have been going and sitting people a lot. If you're familiar with AmmoSeek, it's very, very similar to that, but it's called gunwatcher.com. Gunwatcher.com. And you go in there and you just type in what you want, and it'll tell you what's out there and in stock, what the price is. It'll also kind of show you what's been sold recently, and all that. But it'll tell you, like, this is at this website for this price and all of that. So go check out Gunwatcher. And I'm on there every day looking for something, just kind of seeing what's out there. If nothing else, maybe not to buy anything at that point, but I just want to kind of see what's out there. And so Mario says the ATF invasion of privacy. Nah, it was just my phone restarted, and I don't understand why. So it's at 100%. I don't know. It's welcome to Arkansas, man. I got to get the wife back on the exercise bike to get the electricity going, I guess. I don't know. Now John C out there says Arms List, and I go on Arms List. There's an Arms List. I think I don't know for everywhere, but I know there's one for Arkansas. I'm sure they've got them geographically set up. Arms List is a good one. If you're on Facebook, now you got to be real careful. On Facebook, there are some very private groups that you can belong to. So if you know anyone in your area that likes to do all of that, you might want to ask if they have. We've got a few around here that, one of them's like a bakery or something, and one, you just got to call them ingredients and stuff like that. But yeah, there's different places. But Arms List is a good one. So Gunwatcher and Arms List are the two that I typically use. What are the places that you use, Clover? I mean, are there anywhere that you really kind of look to consolidate your searches with?
Not really, man. I jumped to Bud's Classic, Grab a Gun, Guns.com, Sportsman's Guide, of course. Trying to think. Wow, there's one, Heritage Guild, which is, I think, a place out of maybe Pennsylvania or something. It's got several locations, pretty big shop. Good Lord. Yeah, I don't even know, but I just kind of run down the list. I've got, I don't know if other people this way or not, but I've got like a favorites little folder, literally. And yeah, just run through the list.
Yep. There's, it's interesting because there have been, I've been getting a lot of people around here. And Snump says he just goes to Gun Broker and look at the guns that are selling for double MSRP. Exactly. If, like you said, if budget's no problem with you, then,
well, I'll use Gun Broker on like older stuff, right? Yeah. I always go to the completed auctions and stuff, usually the completed sales section. You have to log in, I think, to do that. So you have to have an account with them, which I've had for years. But yeah, for older stuff, discontinued stuff or whatever, yeah, I do that pretty regularly.
Well, more importantly also is if you're looking to find, and it's weird right now, but if you're looking to find a relative value of a gun, you can always log in and go to the finished auctions as well. And because people are going to ask crazy ass prices out there, but you can kind of see what these things sold for. And you can kind of get an idea if most of them are selling between, let's say, $5 and $5.50, then you know where to go. If some of them are selling between $7 and $7.50, all of a sudden in the last few months, then although $5.50 is still the normal price, right now that value is $7.50 instead of $5.50 or whatever. But you can get an idea of what something's value is on the open market, because at that point you can go and say, well, I found this gun on XYZ website. I don't know if it's a good deal or not. Let me go check what the completed auctions are for the last few months over on Gun Broker. and holy cow, they won $100 more than the average of these sales. You know, so you can utilize that as well. You do that at all ever?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
And I'll tell you another thing is just looking around, because doing some Google foo or DuckDuckGo foo, if that's your poison. But there's a place, TexasGunTrader.com, and I sold some ammo recently, and that's where I put it up. I put it up on there, and I had some 45 ACP that I don't shoot enough 45 ACP to warrant the amount that I had, and I'm like, now's a good time. I can, I could put that money, a little bit of that money, towards something else, right?
The thing is you made some money on that, but not
near. I definitely made some money, because I traded for it a decade ago. You know what I mean?
I'm saying you could have made a lot more if you wanted to.
Well, and I tell you what I did, quite honestly, because I didn't know what the going rate was for it. You know what I mean? I traded for it a decade ago. I had no clue. And if you go to any website right now, it's out of stock. You can't find ammo nowhere. So I took Midway USA, said it was $76.99 a box. And so I listed it for $75 a box. And this was a box of 100, 45 ACP. And I sold every one of them. Within literal minutes, or almost a post.
You also picked up some ammo.
Yeah, I did some trading. That's what prompted me last weekend. I did some weekend before last. I did some trading, and that's what prompted me. I was looking for some ammo. This guy wanted some specific stuff, trade, and in looking for that, I run across the 45 ACP I had, and I'm like, man, I could dump 3 or 4 boxes of this easy. I'm not going to miss it, and put that towards something else, like the Browning Bookmark I just bought, for example.
There you go. Yeah, Chef Boyardee out there says guns.deals used to be Slick Guns, can be a deal. Yeah, guns.deals is a good one. I use it every now and then. If I'm going to a specific website, though, I usually go to Buds. For no other reason, even if they're out of stock, Buds will still have the prices, so you can get an idea of if another website's good or not. You know what I'm saying? As far as
not always.
Well, the ones that I usually go with, they usually say out of stock, but they'll still give what they're selling for. Usually,
maybe it's what you're looking at, or how long it's been since they've got them. I know the last several times I went over there, they didn't have it. They wouldn't even have an MSRP listed. Like,
oh really?
Wow. Yeah, and that's more so what I was looking for usually when I'm scouting for stuff. But yeah.
Moose says the Michigan Gun Forum. There's all sorts of stuff out there that you can definitely. G out there, I also earlier. He said back in the day, hosts would stick around for the whole live show. No, once I knew that Clover had it, I said, I'm out. I'm gonna go get some meat. He can do it. He can do it.
Why not?
And he did. He did do it. So basically, what we're going to start with is kind of start with, let's say, I'm not saying handguns in particular, but that's kind of where most people I think are looking right now, are handguns. But when you hear, so we're going to start by saying this, is when you hear the word budget, what do you automatically go to? Do you go to cheap, or do you go to, bad? Is the word association bad guns? Are they cheap guns? Or where do you immediately go to when you hear, I'm looking for a budget gun?
I go to
budgetgunreview.com. Oh, I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah, exactly. No, I go to, similar firearm, right? Similar weight, similar size, similar whatever profile, similar caliber, yada, yada, yada. Okay, what is the average MSRP? And is it below that average? And some can be considerably below that average, right? And so to me, anything on the lower end of that scale is going to be budget, not necessarily cheap or junk. But yeah, that's what I would call budget.
Yeah. They got a couple up there. Snowy says a SAR 9, phenomenal gun. Love mine. James out there says cheaper than normal.
Yep.
But what is normal? Are you, and this is the cool thing. This is the great thing about this conversation is the Glock at $550. Is that kind of like the middle of the road normal, like anything above that's more higher end, anything below that's budget? Or do you go with a SIG that's worth like $700 and say that's the norm? Anything above that? I mean, so it really, there's no way of really discussing what that normal is. But when I think budget, for me, it's for maybe $500 in today's market, but typically about $400. And the reason why this came up is I've got a video out there for handguns under $400, and it's blown up, and I get a lot of comments on it. And, and as I say, are any of these guns actually good, and all that? And there are some phenomenal guns. People know what I think of M&P Shield. You can get a shield for right now, but most of the time you can get an M&P Shield for $350, $400. A Canic under $400. There are some Walthers under $400. The SARS $400 or less. But when you start going into some of these Rugers, you can get for under $300. You bring in the Skies that could be under that $300 sometimes. The Taurus is under $300, and you've got not saying they're under $300, but you become a big fan of the Gerson stuff, and the Gerson is probably considered price wise as a budget gun. But you've told me that they're better, like their Gerson regard could be better than the actual 92. So
yeah, it's more of to me, it's more of a 92X for the price of a 92.
Yeah. RTX is priced below $450 as a budget to me. Ricardo says, I'm curious about what you think. What do you think about the Taurus semi-autos, because they've had a bad reputation here in Brazil? I've never owned a Taurus. I'm actually any day, like literally any day. Mine should be coming in. They're sending me a G3, which I'm really excited about, because that could be one of those, $300 or less, 12 to 15 plus one capacity, concealed carry or train with. It could be a really good all around gun. And I'm interested to see how it stacks up as a $300 gun against other guns that I know are about the same price. I've heard horror stories about Taurus semi-autos. When the G2C came out last year, that was the first one that I personally heard of, and I shot it a few times. A buddy of mine's got one, and I liked it. But that was the first Taurus semi-auto that I remember that actually got consistently good reviews. And then the G3s come out, and I've heard nothing but great things about the G3. So I'm looking forward any day now to be able to get that in my hands and all of that. Have you had an experience with, I know you've got a couple, but Taurus semi-autos?
So I've got
PT92, don't you?
First, just to hit on the revolvers is I own many Taurus revolvers, and I've never had and I'm a shooter, right? I mean, nearly every day I'm out on the range. And I've never had a singles day's trouble out of any of my Taurus revolvers. The same goes for my semi-autos, but I'm a PT92, PT 1911 Taurus, right? I don't own, I'm trying to think. The only semi-auto my wife, I don't technically call this as I own it, has a PT 22, right?
Okay.
The little Beretta copy. It's also a copy.
It's kind of like my Chiappa, the 92.
No. It's a little tip-up barrel, 22, like the Beretta. What is it? The Tomcat. Somebody out there, G-Webs or somebody can let me know. But yeah, it's basically a copy too, right? Like the 1911s or the PT92s. So I've never owned, a specific Taurus model. The G3s, the PT 111, the Millennium, the Taurus Millenniums, and all that. Now my dad's got a couple, and he's not out on the range every day. In fact, he's a break them out once every great blue moon and play around guy, right? And he's never had any trouble, but he doesn't run near the rounds to him like I would. So can't speak much to. I know my experience as far as through the local gun shops and playing around with some of the used ones that come through and things like that. I've never seen any trouble, out of any Tauruses made, let's say within the last, 5 or 6 years, maybe something like that. I've never seen,
Now,
but
G says his Taurus revolver broke. That's interesting. I've never heard of a Taurus revolver breaking.
well,
Anything can break. Let's be honest.
yeah.
Anything can break, guys.
Yeah, and everybody's experience is going to be different depending on how they treat it, depending on how much they shoot. You buy it new or used. And the thing with Taurus, and I think this is what gets Taurus, right? Taurus is arguably, there's going to be some people that's going to argue this, the largest firearms manufacturer in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, their QC, that plus the budget issue we're talking about, right? With the price point they need to stay in and everything else, their QC is I think it's no surprise, right? Their QC is low. So your odds of getting something that may have a problem, I think, is going to be
Now,
more with Taurus.
the difference is I'm going to ask you this because this is going to be my first experience with Taurus. So let me ask you this. Through your experience of owning a couple Tauruses, have you ever had to deal with their customer service? Because if their quality control isn't necessarily the greatest, and you do risk that every once in a while getting a lemon of a gun, have you or anyone out there in the chat ever dealt with their customer service? And hopefully they're good about returning and fixing guns if they're going to have that quality control.
I've never had any issue or had to deal with them. But that has definitely been a point of contention for many, many years with Taurus, and something that they have actually admitted to and said, I know around this time last year, as a matter of fact, SHOT Show last year, that was something that was said to me when I was talking to them at their booth, that that's something that their leadership and everything has been working on is the warranty issues.
Yep. I know Andre out there, I'm going to butcher your last name, but Andre Chiraboga, I'm just going to call him Andre, says he has a G3C, a G3, a 1911 45, and 38 special revolver. Great guns. Awesome. Like I said, especially in the last couple of years since the G2C came out, I've heard nothing but people raving about the semi-autos. So we'll find out.
I don't want to pick on Affordable Armory too much. He says Taurus TX 22,000 round review coming soon. Spoilers, it's the best 22 semi-auto on the market. And I don't want to pick on him, but if that's the case, bro, you need to shoot more 22 semi-autos. Just saying. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's bad, but the best on the market, I think he might be trying to plug a video. What do you think?
Probably. Probably. And that's okay. Was, I have five Tauruses, and none of them have any problems, so it's good to hear. RTAC. Now, there was a lot of love earlier in the chat while you were talking about the Gerson and all that. There's a lot of love for the Gerson, and I'm looking for, and I haven't heard back from Laura yet. Hopefully I will. If not, I'll send her an email tomorrow. But they've got, and you guys know that I'm not a big 1911 fan, but I have been in the search for like a 3.5 to 4 inch 1911. You could actually conceal carry in 9mm. And Clover said that they have one. So I went over there and looked, and it's pretty cool. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to get a chance to talk with Laura and work with them about getting a 3.5 inch 9mm 1911. I know that that's sacrilege for a lot of people out there, and I'm sure that G Webs probably just threw up a little bit. It's okay, but I'm looking forward to that because I think that would be kind of cool. Having a smaller frame 9mm 1911 to be able to conceal carry. Now that's something I can get to. I'm really interested with that. Let's see here. Glock AK-47. What funny. The hell? So G says they always fix guns, but too many need to be fixed. The shop quit dealing with them. I don't know if he's talking about customer service or what.
Yeah.
I'm trying to catch up. I'm sorry. Larry Hillman out there. Larry says Taurus QC is hit and miss with experience. He's had an issue with a public defender revolver, but not major. So the barrel, are you talking about that new I saw Mac had a video come out, the barrel, I think, of the AK looks pretty cool. I think he had one coming out today that was talking about that's how they spell the barrel. So that's where I think, as you talked about, TPC said Taurus customer service sucks. There you go. And who knows? Let's see here. John C. They're all just saying hi to it's not like he's famous or something. I guess he kind of is. He's getting big, man. And they're going with Canic and all of that. Canic, man, I can tell you right now, I've sold. There's no telling how many Canics I've sold. Honestly, dozens of Canics that I've sold. And I had a young man text me the other night and it said that I'm watching your videos. I heard you talk about the Canic. I think I want to get mechanic, blah, blah, blah. And where this is kind of going also is, he said it seems everyone says that they're awesome guns for a good price. And I said, for the price and the value combination, I truly do believe right now that Canic is putting the best product in the world for the value that you're getting for that price. That's just, I know that I'm a Canic lover, and I know that some people hate them, but it's hard to hard to fight against what they're putting out there right now.
The Turkish companies, man, and you throw up in your mouth a little bit when you say it, but the Turkish companies in general, right? And I've seen the writing on the wall. I seen this coming years ago, but you're talking to a FUD that, I did some homework a decade ago on over under shotguns, and other than your boutiques, right? Your Blazers, your whatever, or Blazer, your Blazers, I mean, you didn't see anything made in the United States except for, a few boutique high-end $15,000 shotguns, right? Pretty much everything was made overseas, and the vast majority made out of Turkey. Mm-hmm. And they just steadily from there started ramping up, and they were making other stuff. Let's be honest. Oh, yeah. These Turkish companies were making, for example, the Regard. May not have been called the Regard, but they were making the 92 copy decades ago. It just wasn't being imported into the United States. So within the last decade or so, we've seen them import more stuff into the United States, but they've been making rock solid stuff for a very long time.
Yeah, there are 3 companies that I can name right now that I would have zero worries about recommending them to people right now for a good price. And Gerson, SAR, and Canic. Mm-hmm. Like, I would have zero worries about recommending anything from those 3 companies to anyone right now. They're unbelievable.
Well, and no, what I was going to say is there's even a reputation in that region, man. And I know people get blinded by politics and they get blinded by a lot of other things. But if you go back historically and look even a couple hundred years ago at that region, they were building some bang up weapons for the time through the, the Turkish Ottomans and the, Ottoman Empire and that sort of stuff. Has some really sweet stuff coming out of that area of the world. So they're it's not like they're new and they just glommed on to, hey, we can sell a bunch of guns to crazy infidel Americans, so let's ramp up these companies, man. They've been making weapons, creating weapons and manufacturing weapons over there for decades and decades and centuries.
Yeah. I got a text in from Jason. Have you guys seen the Arex Delta Gen 2 $450 to $500 gun that is coming out this year? It looks like a great budget gun. I haven't. I just kind of Googled it and all that. I have not heard of it or seen anything about it. So have you heard anything about it at all?
I haven't. I mean, it's a little out of my wheelhouse. I mean, it's a Canic. Basically, it's kind of what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it kind of looks like. But I don't have any experience with it. No idea. But I just kind of Googled it just a second ago.
And here's the dirty little secret, man. Spoiler alert. I mean, however many minutes we're into this podcast now, 46 minutes in, and spoiler alert. Most modern firearms are fine. There's not, I don't care how much you pay for them. I don't care the cost. Odds are you purchase a brand new modern firearm, you're going to be okay. It's going to do pretty much whatever job you may buy it for the wrong job, right? You may buy the wrong firearm for the wrong job, and that's on you. But
the firearm itself,
right? But the firearm itself will typically do the job it was designed to do.
Now, Affordable Armory, I think he just opened up just to another dimension right here. It said he shot a turkey with a Turkish shotgun once.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that a lot of people are shooting turkey with Turkish shotguns. They just may not know it.
He didn't quite open up the third dimension. He would have to shoot a turkey at a turkey shoot with a Turkish shotgun.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's how that would work.
In Turkey.
In Turkey on Turkey Day.
On Turkey Day. There you go.
Yeah.
G23, y'all have worn me down. I'm going to own an AR and build it up from the ground up. Well, welcome to the dark side, bro. Welcome to the dark side.
Keith Gregory says he's been to Turkey. It's a nice country, so that's interesting.
What is it? Budapest? Is that Turkey?
That's Hungary. That's Hungary.
That's Hungary. Well, Hungry, Turkey, they're all damn same.
Hungry. I haven't been to Turkey, but back in the day, we built. I was in the IT business for those that are unaware, and we actually built computers. There was a company out of the DFW area that did 3D mammography machines that they had a contract with Turkey because Turkey was like revamping their hospitals, their medical equipment and everything else. And so I talked to the rep that come down and would pick them up. We built them 3 and 4, 5, 10 at a time sometimes. Right. But anyway, I've had many, many conversations, and granted, this has been a long time ago. Things can change, of course, but he said that for the most part, that the Turks, I guess that's what you call people in Turkey, right? The Turks, were really big into Western culture with, social media at the time. We're talking early days of Facebook and using computers and stuff like that. Really tech savvy, really into, a lot of the Western culture as far as fashion and things like that.
Absolutely. Right out there says, held a Keltec CP33 today. He's intrigued. I've seen pictures of it. I've never held one. I'm not a Keltec fan.
Me either. I shot one at SHOT Show last year, and it was
CP33.
Yeah, it was one of the most uncomfortable things. The grip angle, and
it looks really weird.
It's awkward, man. It's so awkward. But to a lot of Keltecs are. And the hang up that I have with Keltecs is they look 3D printed. They look like Joe Bob Redneck 3D printed them. I mean, there's no thought that's into aesthetics and curves and smoothing stuff out, and what's the little 32, like the 380 and the 32? Everybody out there know what I'm talking about with the Keltec. It's pretty popular. It was at one time. And I was looking between it and the Ruger LCP when I bought my Ruger LCP way back in the day. They were both side by side, shot both, handled both. They were virtually identical. I swear that one of them ripped the other one off, with the exception of the refinement. Right? That Keltec, you held it and it felt like you were just holding a piece of garbage, where the Ruger was smooth and sexy and it was just so much more refined.
Keltec, the P3AT?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I think that's what the
P32. That sounds right. That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I never, like I said, the only thing that I've ever done anything with Keltec is a sub 2000. And not very happy with that. So I never it's kind of stayed away from them. Now, I'm sure that like anything else, you give someone a second chance and they'll probably surprise you. Maybe they will. I don't know. But there are a lot of really good quality guns out there for about the same price that are probably going to be a little bit better. It was weird. I brought up a list. And someone brought up the Remington 380, and I've shot that. That's a really pretty solid little 380. And I want to say, I don't know about what it now, but that was like around 250 to 275. So, and that's a pretty good little, what was it? The micro, I can't remember the actual, what was it? The RM 380 maybe?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but it was their little micro 380, and it was kind of like their version of an LCP or Bodyguard and all that. And it was a good gun. So that was out there well under three. I would say closer to 250 than anything. Trying to think of some other ones that were out there. I try to write down a few on the list, but so obviously we talked about the PT92 with Taurus. That's gotten really good reviews for a long time. About that was between what, 4 and 450 probably, honestly, somewhere around in there.
Once upon a time, I don't know anymore. I know they've slowly crept up. I know I got one that I know I picked up. It was on sale for less than $300. I want to say like cool. 279 or something.
New? Was it new?
Yeah, brand new at Academy. Okay. Yeah. This has been a long time ago. It's a decade plus probably, but yeah, it was on sale for like 279, and you don't see them that cheap anymore. I mean, 400 to maybe 500, and the PT 1911s are the same way from Taurus.
Okay,
they're up there a little bit.
And I would say on the Ruger side, there's probably a couple on the Ruger side you go with. And on the Smith & Wesson, you can get a Shield. You can probably find an M&P, maybe even an M&P 2.0 that might be a little, it's probably going to be down there around those. Ruger, you've got the Security 9, which is going to fall into that. The EC9 is going to be... Well, at one point they were around 300, maybe a little under $300. Ruger's got some really good stuff out there for the price. I'm not this guy, so you are. Maybe what are some good quote unquote budgets? Let's say that $500 and under. Maybe some good revolvers out there, Clove, that people, if they're looking to get into revolver for under 500, what are some good quality ones out there that you remember seeing that are about that price?
Jesus, man, it's tough, right? That's a tough question. Because I mean,
because there aren't any under 500.
Well, people seem to think, and correct me if I'm wrong, the chat out there or whatever, but consensus generally seems to be by the layman or maybe or whatever. I don't know how you would word it, that revolvers are cheaper or should be cheaper than some of the semi-automatic stuff, right? You would think simpler, blah, 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 blah. And that's just not the case.
Right.
It's hard to get into some revolvers sometimes for very cheap. There are a few. Snowy out there mentions the 642 from Smith. Yeah, the 542.
Yeah, that one I've actually seen at my local gun shop. He's got a couple of them. And, off the top of my head, I would say they were... And I want to say that he had one for about 400, one for about 450. I think they were just maybe different. I mean, one had a rubber grip, or maybe one was a longer barrel. But one was like 409, one was like 449 or something like that. But they were both under 450 at the gun shop, and that was a week or two ago. So I know they're still under that price range.
The only thing, and I don't know, maybe we're talking defensive only or whatever. Most of the 642s and stuff I see are the don't have the exposed hammer, right? They're shrouded or hammerless or whatever you want to call them, and not a big fan of that stuff. Mm-hmm. But Ruger, you've got the LCR stuff. It's going to come in under that. Taurus has got a few, especially in the 38, the 85 series. Snowy North's mentioning the Windicator, which does come in under that. You've got Rock Island, not the M series, not the biggest fan of that.
Okay.
Josan says 637 has the hammer. Yeah. But Rock Island Armory has the M series. Haven't been a big fan of those. Heavy, not very refined. But I'll tell you, the AL series, which is that 22 that they sent me recently. Now, I don't know that they're importing them in the 38, 357, and other calibers yet.
Sure.
But those are made in the Czech Republic, not in the Philippines, like the M series. And everything I see are pretty solid. Now, Artec and Daughters has mentioned Charter Arms. You kind of got to be careful with what you get from Charter Arms, but I will say this: Charter Arms has been around a long time. So I've got a couple of Charter Arms revolvers, and they're old, so they definitely know what they're doing. And then there was another one I was thinking of too, and it escaped me. Maybe it was Charter Arms is what I was thinking of, but yeah, you've got some stuff like the Cobra, you know. Some of the uber cheap Zamek frame, you know, in the realm of Jimenez and Phoenix Arms and that kind of stuff.
Phoenix,
that's at what point I start saying, okay, that's cheap. You know,
is Phoenix still around?
Yeah.
Are they still? I haven't seen anything come from them in a while. I heard their name in a while, so I didn't know if they were still an active company.
Yeah. Now, G-Webs is out there, and he can tell us all the history about it if it's even the same company. But the name and the firearms are around. Yeah,
I knew they were out of California at one point, so I didn't know if they were still around. I'm gonna say north of LA, around Santa Barbara, Ventura, Ontario, in that area.
Yeah,
I didn't know if they're still around or not. I had no idea. John C says Phoenix Arms 22 LR 125. So I've got the Chiappa M9 22 that you guys might have seen a little short, the first shots. Loving it. And you can pick that up for at the high end 200. You know, probably 179. I know you and I were talking about it. This one has a Cerakote job. It was really, really nice. But I know that you said at one point you probably get them for 179-ish, 175 or so. But under that $200 for sure, if you're looking for if you're an M9 fan or a 92 fan that you want to get into one of that platform, the 22 for cheap, the Chiappa M922, I love it.
You can get into the 1911s. The only thing that I say with all of the 22 platform, you know, the full size 22 versions, right?
Yeah.
Be it the 1911 or the PT92 or whatever it might be. The only issues that I've seen, this Colt I've got from Walther, this Colt 1911, which is, let's be honest, built by Umarex, right? Which is parent company of Walther. Is the only one I've seen that would eat any ammo you put through it. I mean, from day one, out of the box. All of the other 92s, 1911s, they're ammo finicky. Now, as long as you find what it likes and you're able to feed them that particular ammo, hey, they run fine. They're great. They're a lot of fun. But
the one that I have is very finicky, and it's probably got about 300 or so rounds put through it, and it only likes stingers. I don't know if it's going to change over time or because the problem is I don't have many stingers. I've got a ton of mini mag. CCI mini mag. I don't have a whole lot of stinger, and I can't find them. So I'm really hoping.
It's a physics issue. It really is. First of all, it's a chamber issue. I think is where it really lies, because that's the only difference between this Walther Colt. I don't even know what to call it. Right? Jesus, it's a Walther. It's a Walther with Colt's name on it that was built by Umarex. So I mean, who knows, right? But the only tangible difference I can see between this and especially with talking with these companies is there is a difference in the chambering. And I won't get into chamber specs and all that, but there is a difference in how the chamber is reamed. And so but the issue is, this will run anything I'll put through it, right? But this one, and it's a great pistol. I can't knock it one bit. But compared to the Chiappa, right, or the Sig 1911, or the whichever other one, right, it's more expensive by $100 or more expensive, right?
Right.
So it's like, is that a barrier to entry? Is that, are you better off? I guess the question would be, would you be willing to spend $100 more on that Chiappa you've got if it would fire any 22 ammunition you put in it? Would that be worth it to you? Since you are having an issue with that
right now, possibly.
Yeah.
In normal times where I could just go and buy some stinger,
right?
I can't find it right now.
Well, it's also more expensive. So think about it.
It is. So
How
I mean,
quickly, if you're able to buy,
be able to go and just put this mini mag in there and just go to town with it, or some cheap Remington stuff.
yeah, if you could buy 200 or 300 rounds for what you can buy 50,
right.
even in normal times, how
Right.
quickly do you make up that $100?
Absolutely.
So when that's something else to think about when we're talking budget, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's like, is it really budget if you have to spend more money on ammo for it?
So Ricardo brings up a nice little transition here to the AR platforms and all of that. But he says, "Are Diamondback guns cheap in the U.S.? Do you Americans like them?" I do. I've had good experience with as far as ARs go. I've had good experience with Diamondbacks before. You get them for. I mean, you could be able to get them for $350 to $400. I can't guarantee what they are now, but at one point you get them between $350 and $450 all day, every day. And for what they were, I like them. I do like the Diamondback. We're talking budget ARs. Now, there's a lot of people that will say that the PSAs of the world have really kind of taken that entry level, quote unquote, budget AR out, because you can go build one for the same price of how you want, however you want to be and to look. But the Diamondbacks, the Wyndhams, some of those, the Bushmasters, those were all budget friendly ARs that depends on what you're going to use them for. If you're going to run thousands of rounds through them and all of that, then I don't know what their barrels are going to hold up or not, but I mean, yeah, for me, if you're looking for it for a home defense or something like that, you're not going to shoot it a whole ton, and you want something that's going to be reliable, then I wouldn't go against a Wyndham, Diamondback, like I said, a Bushmaster. Those three are pretty decent, especially for the price. They're not bad at all. What do you think about Diamondback or any of those low priced ARs? Not PS that you could build, but the manufactured low priced ARs.
ARs is one of them things where, again, it's another dirty little secret. I mean, I've built them before on like shoestring budget, and the guys that we built them, they're still running them. So it's one of them things where it's a platform that's been around for how long now? 60 years. Most of the kinks and the other stuff's been lined out. It's not this space aged crazy, it's a miracle it even works platform. It's a pretty solid proven design. So there's got to be a lot of screw ups for something to just be completely trash, right? Sure. Now I think Honcho out there mentioned it, or somebody, when they were talking about the Diamondback handguns. Not a fan.
I've never used the Diamondback pistol. So my only experience with Diamondback was the AR. So I wouldn't.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan with those. I've seen, and everybody has different experiences, but I've seen a lot of issues with quite a few of those.
Yeah. Now Snowy says that he's put 10,000 rounds through a Diamondback, because it used to be. He's using it for first-time rifle shooters, and wanted to show them that one with a cheap setup as opposed to a high-dollar one, not a single issue. So, I mean, like I said, if you're the sad thing is, and you step up to like that mid-level AR, we're talking Smith & Wesson, Core, some of the Ruger stuff. Well, unfortunately, that entry level, that budget AR is now at that price range where maybe there's 350 to 400 tops, is now that $600 to $650, because I've seen some of the Smith & Wessons going for $800-900, and those $899 are going for $1,200-1,500. So, for right now, you're going to have to raise that level of what you consider the budget ceiling to be, because that ceiling's been raised a little bit. Someone's bringing up FMK, and I'm working on getting an FMK, and it should be coming here maybe next week or so. But I'm getting I had a bunch of people ask me about the FMK Recon, and I had never shot. I really hadn't even really seen them before, heard of them. So I had to Google. I think I asked you and Budget some guys maybe last week or 2 weeks ago or something about if you guys had heard of them. Anyway, so I go over there. This Recon's got this $250, $259 basically like Glock, you know. And there's been some mixed reviews on there about the triggers and all that. But I'm looking at their website, and they've got a USMC Bulldog Elite series gun. And so working on getting that, and I'll let you know. I've never shot an FMK, but I am interested to see a $259, let's say $300 or less with today's market, a Glock killer. So that's what they're called, the Glock killer is what people call it. So I'm looking to get into that. Buck says that his AR and Diamondback has had no problems, and I've seen him shoot that, and it doesn't have any problems whatsoever. So it looks like there's
Roe's throwing out Bursa, and that is one we forgot about. Bursa, again, we're talking about an importer. And yeah, you've got Bursa, and I can't even remember the different companies that they import off the top of my head, but you've got, was it American
Llama?
Classic?
Was Llama one of them?
Llama, which is a new Llama. It's not the old company anymore.
Yeah.
You got Llama and American Classic, and there's several. But yeah, the Bursa, man, that little Bursa 380, for example, at one time, and this has been, showing my age because that's been 2 decades ago probably now, was the most popular concealed carry handgun in the country at one time. Now the small frame poly stuff is blown up, caught on, blown up, and everything else since then, and it's pushed it way down there. But yeah, it was a very popular, and I own several Bursas, and I've never had any issues out of them. Matter of fact, I've got a Bursa Thunder 45 that I carried for quite some time, and I went from that Thunder 45 into a Para-Ordnance Warthog, which is small frame 1911, right? Both 45, and the Bursa actually feels better as far as recoil management and other things. Way better than that Warthog
45. How that was in a carry gun?
That little Warthog would beat you to death, man. It's fun, but it'll beat you slap to death. It's an alloy frame and stuff, and that Bursa is just a little bit longer barrel, a little bit bigger grip size, longer grip size. The weight's distributed a little better, and it really makes a difference when it comes to recoil in that small of a frame in a 45.
Yep. Now, Defense Dad out there says if anyone buys a budget PSA like their M4 carbine, buy the upper and lower separately, and you'll save a little over $100. And it comes with a rear sight that way. So, well, there you go. If you're out there looking at PSA stuff, G-Webs is questioning, man. He's questioning you now. He said he's owned 2 Bursas and won't own another one. Let's see here. Someone's talking about Sky. I'm interested in a couple Skies. I won't ever do it though. I had an interesting, weird. I don't know how to put it. What would you call a relationship with them? it was just weird. Anyways,
I've seen.
I've shot a couple of them last year at range day, and the new stuff is pretty good. I did like it. Yep.
So, I can't tell you the number of people that call me up. They know I got a range, and they're like, I'm taking my concealed carry. Can I come out there and practice, or I can do this? And the Atwoods here, which is Farm and Ranch store, they may be, some people out there may know what I'm talking about. And I know this was years ago when the Skies kind of, first came out there for a few years or whatever. Man, the Atwoods, those people just pushed them and pushed them and pushed them and pushed them, right? Oh, you need this. It's blah, 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 blah. And I don't know how many times the people come out here and it just didn't run right. They're like, what's going on? And I'm like, well, I hate to tell you, your pistol sucks, Right. And then, they end up throwing that in a nightstand, basically, or something, and going and buying a Glock or Smith & Wesson or something else. And, never look back. Love it. I've just seen so many people have so much heartache and anguish and everything else over Skies that just turned me off.
Well, the problem, and I've said this many, many times before, and I think it was a self-inflicted wound with Sky. I think that the concept of having a subcompact carry gun that's multiple colors, but it was really, they went after pink and like Tiffany blue. They were going after the female market for concealed carry, which was brilliant. Had they waited 6 months, I want to say they pushed it out for, let's just say they pushed it out and they wanted everything ready for SHOT Show that first of the year. Had they waited till May or June to push that out and really honed in on some of the issues that they were having in the R&D side and not try to capitalize too early, I think it probably would have been a success, and they wouldn't have had maybe the downfalls that those first couple models had. But they wanted to get that out there as quickly as they possibly could. Let's say for SHOT Show or NRA or something like that. And the concept was there, the marketing was there, but the gun sucked. And if they would have waited 6 months or so, there's no telling where they could have been now. They could have owned that subcompact female market. Really could have. It is what it is. So there's something up here that I wanted to. Okay, so Larry says, I've been wanting to buy an entry-level AR for some time. I want either a Smith & Wesson or a Ruger 5.56. Any opinions? They're both great. I own two of these bad boys, the Smith & Wesson. This is the original Sport, and I've got a Sport 2 in the safe over there. This is my Red Dawn. I call it the battle rifle. I trust this. This has got, I don't know, 7,000-8,000 rounds, close to 10,000 rounds put through it easily. Never had an issue. I was talking with Clover, as a matter of fact, was a week or two ago about, man, I might have to start looking into the barrel, but I haven't seen any issues with this barrel yet. I don't think I'm going to have to anytime soon. But around that 10,000 mark when you're going to start, but that's any gun, But I can recommend both of them, but I trust the Smith & Wesson. That is my number one for entry level, mid level, whatever you want to call it. I trust it over anything. What would you say as far as Smith & Wesson or Ruger? I know you're not a big Smith semi-auto fan, but
that's handgun. ARs. That's handgun mostly.
Okay, so you okay with their ARs then?
Yeah, I mean, given both of those on a shelf, I'm looking for an AR. Both of those on the shelf, both the same price. All things equal. We're just talking about a name.
Sure.
I probably go S&W. Now, there's a little bit of price difference. If the Ruger's $50 cheaper, I'll probably go Ruger, to be honest with you, because it's not that important to have the name. But both are quality firearms for sure.
Right.
I think the S&W, the thing about S&W is resale, and if you're looking down the road and how well it retains value and stuff like that, Smith & Wesson's been one of those companies that, that S&W, right? It just holds value. And so Ruger does too, to an extent, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's nearly as good as Smith & Wesson.
I'll tell you that there's another company that people, they don't think about. They're not really well known. I've got a couple of them. Used to have another one. But Core, C-O-R-E, the Core 15, really, really, really solid AR for that same kind of a price of that Smith & Wesson. I would still put the Smith & Wesson over that, but I'd probably put the Core over the Ruger. That's just my personal opinion, but I don't know if what they're going for these days, but Core, if you can find one for about the same price, man, Core is really, really solid as well. But I would still say the Smith & Wesson you can't go wrong. Now, Angry out there says, love my Smith & Wesson shield for carry. I still, to this day, will say that the M&P shield overall, if you just take everything, price, size, in a subcompact and all that, it's more importantly, is it not only one of the best concealed carry guns out there ever, It was the game changer. It's the one that started that whole subcompact single stack 8 round, concealed carry 9mm. I mean, it was, you either had to go with a smaller gun like a 380, a little micro 380, or you were having to go up to a little bigger like a Glock 19. There wasn't anything in that subcompact until a Shield came out. And the Shield was, as far as mass produced from a big company that was great. The Shield changed the game for subcompact concealed carry pistols. So I still think it's great. I know people are going to say that the SIG 365 and all that. Some are going to say the Glock 43, the Glock 48, all of that. And they're all could be better. But what I'm saying to you is the track record and what the Shield has done for it created the market for the 48s, the 43s, for the 365s. It literally created that market for that kind of handgun. So there has been some stuff that are probably better than it, but I love mine. I carried it yesterday, as a matter of fact. I love my Shield still this day. And anything in that subcompact, 10 rounds or under concealed carry gun owes everything to the M&P Shield. Just saying. That's just me. Is the Hellcat a good concealed carry option? Depends on who you ask. Some people say it's a phenomenal gun. Some people say it's absolute trash. I thought it was okay. Do I think it's a good concealed carry option? Sure, I do. The size of it's going to be good. I have not heard or seen anything that shows me that they're unsafe, that they're not trustworthy. So I would say, sure, I would. Yeah, I wouldn't. I'd say that there's probably better things out there, but if that's what you want and all of that, I would say that yes, that Hellcat is not a bad option at all. What about you? Anything about the Hellcat, Ricardo Woodson?
Interestingly enough, has been a Hellcat with everything going on now, right?
Sure.
On the shelf or in the case at the local gun shop for a little over a month now.
Right.
And I don't know what it is about the Hellcat. It's a love-hate relationship, seems like, with a lot of people.
Yeah, sure. It is.
I just don't like the way it feels. I don't like the way it feels. I don't like the recoil. I just don't. And that doesn't mean it's a bad handgun, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just I don't like it. I think there's better options for me. There's better options out there.
Yeah. And I'm not one of those that are not going to buy Springfield just because it happened a couple of years ago. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I own a couple of Springfields. They're good guns. So
and there's
like
when Hellcat comes up in a lot of the subcompacts, the 365 always comes up, right?
Sure.
I'm not a fan of it either.
I'm not a big fan. I'm not a SIG guy.
So take it for what it's worth. I'm not saying it's a bad handgun. I'm not saying that, but it's not for me. Not for me.
I think SIG makes a phenomenal gun. I just don't like SIG. Just like people don't like CZ, they don't like Glock or whatever. I'm just not a big SIG guy. Not because I think they're bad. It's just
right.
I'm just a SIG guy. That's just the way I am. So the last one we got about 15 minutes or so. The last one I wanted, we've touched on handguns, we've touched on ARs. I wanted to talk to you especially because you're more apt into this. Bolt action. I know that people are going to bring up Ruger Americans and some Mossbergs and all that.
Yeah, Snowy up there was asking about that.
Oh, was he? Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Go find it. Well, I'll look for it. I'm going to ask you, Kevin, when you start hearing the words, budget friendly or entry level bolt action, right, what are some of the ones that you might sit there and recommend to someone? Well, I'll look for
pretty easy. I mean, Savage Axis 2, Thompson Compass, Ruger American. That's probably the top three anyway. I'm not a fan of I'm a huge Mossberg fan when it comes to shotguns. But any other platform, I don't see it with Mossberg. They should stick with shotguns. That's my opinion. But yeah, and Snowy out there is mentioning the Weatherby Vanguard. Weatherby Vanguard's going to be on the higher end. I think Savage Axis probably going to be your cheapest, right there. Also with that Thompson Compass, and then the Ruger American, and then probably that Weatherby Vanguard is going to be a little bit higher. But Weatherby Vanguard's super awesome action, and that's really the difference when you get into the Ruger American, the bolt design, the lockup. When you talk about the receiver and barrel mating, stuff like that. And Ghost just dropped out again. That sucks. But at least we're talking bolt rifles, so we can do it there for a while. Yeah, the Weatherby action and that Ruger American action is amazing. Now, the Savage Axis action is a great action, and with a little bit of love, especially if you had an old school gunsmithing buddy, and did a little work to that Savage Axis, it could be absolutely amazing. I've seen some custom rifles built off of Savage Axis because it's cheap, right? And I've seen some really wicked custom bolt guns. Like I said, the MVP, it's okay, but for what you get with, I think with stock trigger for the pillar bedding in the factory stocks, for the lockup, the bolt lockup, and some other things. I just think that Mossberg MVP, for the price point anyway, I think that Mossberg MVP is lacking a little bit. And you're back.
Yeah, I think what's happening is the weather's starting to come in.
Yeah.
So
well, it depends.
The next 10 days, the warmest day of the next 10 days is 32.
Wow.
And we got up to maybe 8 inches of snow coming. Well, right now, unfortunately, it's been kind of raining and drizzling the last couple of days, and it's supposed to get down to pretty cold. So I don't know if that's messing with the towers with ice and all of that. Yeah, I think Saturday the high is 21 with a low of 5 on Saturday. So, so I don't know if ice and all that might be messing with something. I don't know, but my phone's going berserk.
It did here. So I wouldn't be surprised. Now, Snowy is saying he forgot about that compass. Those are pretty good as well. He stays away from any budget Remingtons, such as the 783. So here's the thing, because I don't know who we've got out there listening, and I certainly don't want. Hopefully, nobody's taken away a snobby attitude with anything, with anything we've talked about. But here's the dirty little secret: even with that Remington 783 with the scope that you get from Walmart for next to nothing. If you're talking about putting deer in the freezer, it's going to get it done, man. It's going to, does the action feel like sandpaper? Yeah, but is it going to shoot sub MOA groups? Probably not. But at 100 yards, even the 783 can shoot MOA or pretty close to MOA groups, even budget, sheet, whatever you want to call it, right? Like that. So just depends on, again, we go back to, I think that's what we kind of started out with, right? Just kind of depends on what you expect from it and what you're going to do with it. You can make the wrong. Now, if you're going to go shoot some kind of precision rifle competition with a 783 long range competition, oh no, sir, that's not going to work. But if you're just looking at going deer hunting a few times a year, buy one of them, use it. Why not?
I know you were talking earlier when I jumped in, you were talking about the compass. I don't know what you're talking before. And that's a Thompson Center, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Chris out there wants about the Contender, and that's a Thompson, I believe, as well. So,
yes.
What do you think about the Contender? Or is that better than the compass?
Contender is not. I wouldn't consider, because the compass is the budget line, right?
I want to say so. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I know it is. It's, that wasn't necessarily a question. But
yeah, well, for me, it's a question because I'm not that keen on it. I want to say the compass is the lower end. Yeah.
The contender is one of the most proven, accurate, bad to the bone platforms. I don't even know what you would necessarily call it a rifle, right? Because I mean, you can go pistol with it too. So, but yeah, out there. So yeah, definitely. But not budget. Nowhere near.
Okay. So you said that the Savage Axis.
Mm-hmm.
would be a good choice, because that is one that I've actually seen out there a lot in some groups that people are selling some stuff, and I see a lot of Savage Axis, and they're actually asking for reasonable prices. So if someone's out there looking at Savage Axis and you keep hearing that and they're available, what is a price that someone could look at and say, obviously not brand new, but not hella used either, what would be a good reasonable price for a Savage Axis right now, would you think? Because I know there's a lot of people looking on them right now.
Are you talking about new?
Like I said, not new, but not like just shot the hell out of either.
Well, I mean, even new, you're looking at $300.
Yeah.
So
you think back, if you saw
as cheap as $300, brand new. So I mean, I probably wouldn't even, it had to be pretty immaculate for used for me to go much more than probably $250 on one.
$250, okay.
Now, I mean, if it kind of depends on the optics they got too, right? I mean, if it's some kind of a package deal, a lot of those Savage Axes, a lot of your cheap budget bolt rifles, hunting rifles, right? They'll package deal, right? They'll have some Simmons, Bushnell, something scope on them, right? Which is a decent enough scope for hunting. I mean, doing everything right out of the box. So, has somebody upgraded that maybe with the loophole to Vortex? That's going to make a difference. And yeah, I mean, I might give $250 for a used Savage Axis 2 with a, $300, $400, $500, $600 loophole on it for sure. But, yeah, it's gonna be hard for me to turn loose on much for a used one. They're gonna at a $300 new price. It's just gonna be tough.
Yeah, because I've been seeing them in some of these groups for $300 about average.
Yeah,
and they said lightly used. So I don't know if that was a decent price for today's realm.
It probably is for today's realm. And in all honesty, if this continues much through into the summer, what they're asking and what they're getting, a lot of times it's two different things.
Sure.
But, if people decide, hey, I need something for hunting season coming up, right? For my kid to shoot now, he's going to hunt on his own, or maybe you've got a buddy at work that's looking for one because they've started to go hunting now or something, then more of an immediate need for it, right? Then I could see somebody possibly paying that. But I mean, it would have to be, because I don't know for a fact if it's some of the Axis 1s, because there's some talk about those. I don't care for those. If the Savage Axis does not have the Accu trigger, I don't want it. Period.
Right.
Because I do not like them. I will go, and I have, because I own 2. I will go Ruger American all day, every day over the Axis if it does not have the Accu trigger. Now, if it's got the Accu trigger, that's when I'll price shop and what am I getting and some other things. And again, out of the box with the way the bolt lockup is and the action and other things, the Ruger is definitely the better designed rifle. But like I said, earlier, with a little bit of love.
The Ruger American you're talking about?
The Ruger American, yeah. But with a little bit of love, and if you know some old school gunsmiths or something like that, like I said, I've seen some pretty bodacious custom rifles built off of Savage Axis action. Somebody went and bought a whatever on sale, $200-$300, whatever it was, Savage Axis, and then rebarreled, blueprinted the action, the whole 9. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And had a pretty sweet rifle. But at that point,
you could go buy like a stealth or something.
Well, it's not a budget, but they would probably outshoot a stealth once they've got done, an out of the box stealth anyway. Sure. But again, you're talking budget, so I don't think budget includes somebody that's going to buy something cheap and then spend $1,500 on it. Maybe that falls into budget, but to me that doesn't fall into budget.
Snowy's out there wanting to move one of his SAR 9s, can't figure out a good price point. Go over to, we were talking earlier, go over to Gun Broker, and you can search for do completed auctions, okay? and you can see what they've actually sold for recently, not what people are asking, but what they sold for. And you can get an idea of what people are paying or willing to pay for them. And you can also look over there, and they have a buy now price on a lot of their items. You can kind of get an idea of what the buy now prices are, but that's a good place to start with. Depends on how much you've used it. I would say that you could probably start at $350 and maybe settle for $300, something like that. I think that's a fair price for a used SAR 9. Is around between $300 and $350 in today's market. That's just me. But the last one I want to talk about right now is some lever action stuff, Clove. So I'm going into the stuff that, when you start talking about this stuff, I get a rash when we start talking about bolt action and lever action and all that. I've got the only lever action I have, and it was my first rifle I ever bought at boot camp, was the Winchester 3030. Which I think probably everyone's got one of those, but I think $150. So is that one of the ones that you would think is a really good budget? Is a Winchester 3030?
No, they ain't no. Well, so the way I use the word, and most people I think use the word, if you're talking, this is what's crazy, right? So all the young bucks and all the people that are coming into the game, and they're into the tactical and the ARs and the AKs and the poly pistols and all this other stuff, right? They don't know expensive guns. If you've been into single action, cowboy action, bolt rifles, lever actions, the FUD guns, in particular shotguns too. You've seen a lot of very, very, very expensive guns in your time. So you learn real quick that, these soy boy, however we want to put it, right? Hipster fad things. That's a lot of what you see nowadays. It's like they're cheap compared to a lot of this other stuff. And lever actions, unfortunately, is one of those. I don't think there's such a thing. Currently in this day and age, if we take the average price,
budget, what's the best value for the quality for value
Marlin.
in a lever action?
Marlin on a lever, probably Marlin. When you take the
Rossi,
Rossi's going to be, we're talking about best value for the money, and I don't know that Rossi is the best value for the money, because I think if you shop around, I think you can find a Marlin probably not much more than, if any, than a Rossi. So
I know that you love Henry stuff. Where does Henry rank into that? Is that pretty good?
Top high end, yeah. Henry and Winchester are up there, so yeah.
So when people are out there and they're might listen to this and they don't have a clue what we're talking about, budget or top end and all that, for a lever action, let's say a Winchester or a Henry and a Marlin, let's say those three. What are we talking about price wise that people could be looking if they want to get into a lever action? What are they looking at price wise right now, do you think?
On a 336, let's say, I'm gonna say right now, probably if you can get a brand new 336 for $450, you're probably doing good.
Okay, no, that's if a 330 is a Marlin, right?
Marlin, and you know what? I forgot about something, because we've talked about Mossberg, right? Mossberg does have lever actions, and they're on the cheaper end. The Mossbergs and the Rossies are going to be cheaper end. Man, I'm not a fan. No, I'm not. Again, I go back to Mossberg, and if it's not a shotgun, I just am not a fan. But yeah, I would say probably, $450 if you can find a Marlin 336, or for now. If we start talking anything other than 3030, the price dramatically goes up on a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? But you can get up in really close to and around $1,000 on a Winchester, and you can do that with Henry too.
Sarge got a Henry Big Boy X357 today. He loves it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. If you're going with pistol caliber, let's say, or 357, 44 mag, 45 Colt. Sure. Stuff like that, Henry's probably your best bet. Probably. you were talking about value for the money, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to spend it because it's a freaking Henry, but yeah, value for the money. But then you've got the option too. I mean, with something like Wanamaker Tulsa Arms Show, for example,
Sure.
and actually finding a sure enough good deal on an older model, something there, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of it depends on, especially when you're talking about older platforms and you're talking about lever action rifles, or you're talking about bolt guns like we talked about earlier. And I guess it extends a little bit to some semi-auto stuff too, and to, the poly handguns maybe and stuff like that. But when you're talking revolvers and you're talking lever actions and you're talking shotguns, I mean, you walk the floor at Wanamaker, you know how much of that stuff's there, right?
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes there's some hidden gems there that may be 50, 60-year-old rifles or revolvers or whatever, and they're priced right. So, shopping the right place a lot of times, right? Going to the right place, looking in the right places make a big difference. Now, one thing we didn't talk about, and Andre out there mentions, is the Henry Long Ranger, LONG, Long Ranger, which is their single shot line. They're pretty cool. Been trying to get my hands on one of those in a 350 Bushmaster. I mean 350 Bushmaster, 350 Legend. Sorry.
350 Legend, man, they're for a while around here.
Yeah.
I was talking to my buddy at the gun shop, and back in like November, December, getting ready, hunting season and all that. He said all of a sudden the 350 Legend just kind of blew up, and he would sell maybe, let's say, 10 a year. He was selling 10 a week. Now I asked him, was that because at that time maybe the 350 Legend was the only ammo that they could find? He said very well could be. But the 350 Legends kind of had a resurrection and resurgence in popularity. So yeah,
there's ammo. One of the reasons that I want to play around with that platform, obviously, but one of the reasons that we were talking about the 350 Legend is I can actually find ammo around here, which is weird.
Same here. That's one of the very few that you can. But like I said, he sold a ton of 350 Legend rifles in a month and a half span. He said more than he would sell in multiple years, so yeah, Sarge says there's no 357 right now. And
357 is easy to reload though. Golly. And there are projectiles out there.
That's the 9mm of
revolvers.
Yeah. So it's around.
Without a doubt. I need to break down and load some. I just looked at 1,000 double barrel double end wad cutters in a box a couple of days ago, and thought, man, I need to get the press set up and load those up.
Why don't you? All right. Now, so I told you how bad our temperature is going to be here. Our weather here starting now for the next 10 days to 2 weeks is going to be really bad. Like low 20s is the high and single digits is the low, and up to 8 inches of snow and a bunch of ice and all that. Are you expecting to get this polar vortex coming down there as well, or no?
Yep. Yeah, we're having lows. It's our lows, thank goodness, and not the highs. But I think it's going to start, I think, tomorrow, maybe even, or something, for like a week. Our lows are going to be for several nights down in the teens, which is pretty rare to get that low here.
Yeah, we've got. So let me just read you the forecast. It's not going to be fun.
I can imagine.
So let me bring up.
Yeah, I was gonna look at it on this end, just so I wasn't lying.
Wednesday, a high of 32, low of 27. Thursday, 32, 23. Friday, 30 and 20. Saturday, high of 24, low of 6. Sunday, high of 24, low of 13. Monday, high of 21, low of 13. Wow. Tuesday, high of 27, low of 19. Yeah, that's
the lowest we get. Now, thankfully, other than when this front moves through, we've got a chance of rain, precipitation.
Yeah.
Other than that, the precipitation is not high, which is great. But the coldest it will get here, which for here is super freaking cold. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
It's 29 for the high, 19 for the low. So,
Yeah.
but that's nowhere near what you're talking about.
Well, anytime you're below the Mason-Dixon line and the highs are in the 20s, it's freaking cold.
It's bad. Yeah. So that may be a reloading day.
12 there.
View day.
That's what I was going to say is you've got a week. That's why I was asking you, are you going to have some crap weather for the next week also? That might be a good way to get out there and do some reloading.
Well, and I do got, I've stacked content. I could go another probably couple of weeks without cutting another video and have stuff to release. You know what I mean? Sure. So, maybe we'll see. And I've got the supplies. I've got everything to do it. It's just a matter of doing it. So we'll see.
There you go. All right. Well, we've been going an hour and 40, and I think we've had a really good discussion, covered a lot of different platforms for people out there that it might be looking and there are areas that you may have to worry about. But I think the words budget and entry level scare a lot of people away. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think that needs to be the case a lot. So hopefully we've helped you a little bit on understanding that there are some quality things out there for a budget friendly firearm, especially if you're new to firearms or you've got your first gun early in the year and you may be looking to get something different. There are a lot of options that you don't need to be scared of. Ricardo's at 73 in Brazil. Must be nice. But all that. So I want to get Clover to come in real quick and say, first of all, thanks for coming in. Great discussion. Yeah. But tell people where they can find you. What projects do you have coming up? All of that jazz.
Well, I would hope everybody knows pretty much where to find me.
We have a lot of people coming in, so
be surprised sometimes. Yeah, clovertac.com is normally, well, obviously YouTube, right? But I usually tell people clovertac.com. Go to the social media carousel because I'm on like 60 freaking platforms. So whichever one you enjoy using the most or like the best, and follow me there. And not just follow me, but heck, comment and engage and all that's what it's about. Anybody can just throw a video out there and anybody can just watch the video. It's the back and forth in the conversation what makes everything fun. Dropped a 10 millimeter. I know there's a lot of 10 millimeter fans out there because 10 millimeter is the best millimeter. But dropped a 10 millimeter versus the water jugs on the Redneck Ballistic apparatus. Dropped that video earlier. Finally, I almost missed the freaking video drop today and then almost missed the live stream here. And it's like, man, I got to get my stuff together. I don't know what's going on, but anyway, great conversation. Enjoyed it.
So do leprechauns have a shelf life? I mean, could that be part of the problem? Is you're on your leprechaun magical last leg? I don't know.
I don't think so. I think I've been under the weather the last few days. That's probably most of it.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. As far as us, like I said, the big thing is we're launching now. If you're a patron or a channel member on YouTube, either one of those, you guys have already had access for a couple of days of the new podcast. But we're launching the Jarhead podcast Thursday afternoon. It'll be on the go. We're putting on the Ghost Tactical YouTube channel and all that. But we're launching that. The episode 1 of the Jarhead podcast will go public Thursday afternoon. So that's the big one. And like I said, I'm not really sure. I've got several guns and I've got a couple optics coming in. I don't know weather coming in. The snow's not a big deal because my truck will get through pretty much anything you put down snow-wise. But they're talking about frozen ice underneath that snow as well. Ice is an issue because I live on a freaking mountain, so getting out of the house might be an issue. So I don't know how much I'm going to get to the range in the next week or two. Hopefully it won't be a big deal. But it'll be interesting. But there will be some videos coming out, obviously, in the next week or two, obviously. But the big one is the launch of the Jarhead podcast on Thursday. So be on the lookout. Like I said, if you're already a patron or a channel member, you've already had access to it since I think maybe Saturday or Sunday and all that. So let me know how you guys like it. It's kind of interesting. It's a different concept for me, especially. But we're going to have fun with it for sure. Ricardo says, I need an optics conversation. We can talk optics next week. That might be an interesting one. What do you think about that? Clover, you interested about talking some optics next week?
Yeah, I mean, what are we talking about? Optics is like what?
He just says he needs an optics conversation. We can talk maybe some budget-friendly optics for handguns, for rifles, for...
We're talking about hardware optics, not like,
hardware optics,
the PR side of things, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, spoiler alert, I'm not an optics snob, so that could be a good one.
Yeah, and obviously you guys know I got a bunch of them, but my favorite, my favorite for the price are Bushnell. You can get a red dot for $125. You can get I think I've got an LPVO coming, a 1 to, I don't know if I want to get a 1 to 4 or 1 to 6. I've been talking with CJ. I'm thinking I'm getting a 1 to 4 or 1 to 6 LPVO because I've never really dealt with an LPVO before, and that might take that magnifier and make it, to where I don't have to worry about that and give me some, more real estate on a rail or whatever, but I'm really interested in that. But yeah, Bushnell are some great, Hollisons are some good ones. Burris are decent for the price. I'm not saying they're awesome. I'm just saying, there are a lot of budget friendly optic companies out there. We haven't even gone into the Amazon stuff set. So that might be an interesting one. Maybe we can talk optics next week. That'll be a good one. But yeah, thanks for hanging out with me, Chloe. Appreciate you very much. Thanks for everyone that watched live. Hour and 45 into this. We still got close to 30 people out there. So that's awesome. Thank you so much. If you're listening in replay or in podcast, make sure that you give us that smash, that like, subscribe, follow, whatever you're watching it on, listening it on. A lot of podcast services let you leave reviews. And if you like the conversation, you like the show on the podcast form, and you feel inclined to leave a review, that could also help the algorithms of the podcast side of things. So we ask you to do that. Other than that, just I want you guys to stay safe. I know that it's not, if it's cold as hell and we're talking up to 8 inches of snow here in Arkansas, I can only imagine what everyone up north is going through. I saw a good friend of ours, John, with Faxon earlier, posted an Instagram of Cincinnati, and it looked pretty snowy up there. So I can imagine, guys, stay safe out there. For those of you that love the snow and get to hang out, cook a pot of chili, hang out with the kids and have a snowball fight. Enjoy it and all of that. We're going to enjoy it just hanging out, I guess. But yeah, thanks God for Clover Attack. Go follow cloverattack.com. I'll give you a link to all that. The nerd chat, I'm assuming we're going to have it Thursday. Always love that chat at 8 Central, 9 Eastern, 8 Central, the nerd chat and all of that. So thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. Semper Fi.